All right, hopefully I'm back for good. Whatever's going on with this stupid ass internet is obviously telling me don't talk about pop music. Don't talk about pop in any sort of variety. If you talk about pop music, you will be cut off because YouTube secretly jacks off every pop star. They secretly give every pop star handies in the fucking parking lot. Because if I talk about pop music, good God, oh my, I think it's going to happen again. Oh, maybe not. Illuminati fucking confirmed. I'm even a part of the Illuminati. I'm a member of the Illuminati, so that's what makes this really fucked up. Somebody is trying to get me out of the Illuminati. And now it's choppy. Oh, man. They know what I'm doing. Someone's going to bust through that door and kill me any second. Ugh. See, that's the thing. I mean, pop music isn't all of that bad. I'm not going to just throw down and say that it's the most awful thing that's out there. There's some that is okay, you know. We were talking on Tuesday about some of the older stuff that's considered pop and pretty solid stuff. You know, we're talking bands like Savage Garden. Savage Garden, pretty good stuff. There was someone in here that was mentioning that. But it's just really, really strange that these days what is being deemed excellent is kind of just a refurbishing or a rehashing of things that are being done by others. It's not, you know, the individual nature of pop music that used to once exist is not present very much. And this is a style that has everything kind of in the palm of its hands, you know. Sadly, pop music could very well dictate the world in some ways. Like, somebody could write a song called Kim Davis and talk about how much of a hero that she is. Receive backlash from that from about, 2 million people, but still somehow magically have 5 to 6 million people support her or him in that opinion. Like, that's how pop music's influence is right now. JD, let's not talk about that song. Let's not talk about Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nay Nay, because I want to watch myself kill that guy. Because that song is Watch Me Be It Hard for 3 minutes. All right, well, so far we have been solid for a good 4 minutes. Maybe I just jinxed it by saying that. Hopefully that's not the case. And my phone magically shut off now. Illuminati confirmed part 2, part D. So the second half of the stream was meant to be dedicated to just hanging out a little bit with you guys. And we have about an hour to kill. So let's get to it. What are your opinions of what is good pop music over the years? Liz, over the years, pop music was something that was really meant to define popular culture a little bit. Whenever you consider the past, whenever you consider the ancient annals of doo-wop going into the original rock and roll invasion, you know, you have to realize that the Beatles are not technically really a classic rock band. They're more of a pop group, especially whenever it comes to their first, you know, the first portion of their music. Whatever you think also about R&B, rhythm and blues and stuff like that, song, you know, stuff like the Four Seasons and the Temptations and stuff like that. Yeah, we've classified that a little bit more deeply, but in the end, it's really in the roots of pop music. Same can be said about Stevie Wonder, and, you know, the same can be said about Ray Charles and people like that. As it's kind of accelerated forward whenever we got into the 80s was whenever the division became a little bit more geared towards something that's sort of peppy, upbeat, or talks about, you know, love or loss of love. And, you know, some of those stipulated ideas started to become a little bit more streamlined. And it became this culture where you needed to have like that 1 or 2 hit songs in order to keep yourself relevant. You know, Madonna really changed what it meant to be a pop star, especially as a woman. She really changed what that meant. You know, there were pop songs in the disco age that really carried over. You know, tracks from Gloria Gaynor, for example, that really showcased that. You know, for all of the talk about how big of an age that the 1980s were for heavy metal, there was a whole cavalcade of music that was also there that was taking advantage of the times as well. Ben likes the music, says that he likes Justin Timberlake. Well, guess what? So do I. I like Justin Timberlake a whole lot because his pop is very diverse. And he's somebody who does not care for the 3-minute song convention. And that's what I think I enjoy about him a lot, is the fact that it's diverse material and at the same time doesn't care about modern day convention, is willing to go out there and pen a track that's 6 or 7 minutes and sort of take up a bit of a different approach to things. He's almost like he's looking at what conventional people state makes a pop music hit album and just shits all over it. Liz is talking about Michael Jackson, Madonna, Prince, and Cyndi Lauper. Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Britney Spears, yeah. You have to remember also that pop music and pop and rock music, pop rock music, not the candy, is very much defined by what kind of a movement that it really begins. You know, you really can't say that for bands such as Bush that were popular during the first part of the 90s, but they were really leading a very alternative and, you know, a hard rock style revolution at that time. You know, you can't say that Kurt Cobain's a pop star because he really isn't. You know, he's a part of pop culture, but we identified this term of grunge to really signal what that whole movement was all about. You know, Depeche Mode is another group that has, you know, they really don't fit the convention of pop, but their fan base is rabid. They love Depeche Mode. I'm a big fan of Depeche Mode myself. Good stuff. Tori Amos is another one that has a following that is absolutely absurd. You know, these are the folks that you don't see every day, but if there's a Tori Amos album that comes out, you will see them all. They will all come out. They want the stuff because they know that it's going to be solid. She has gotten such a following that you don't see unless an album drops. Sugar Ray they have really kind of tanked a little bit throughout the years, but they still put on a really good live show. That's the one thing I do have to confess to. They still put on a very entertaining live spectacle. Name a popular metal song that I don't like. I'm tired to death of Enter Sandman. That's still popular. That'll be popular until the day I die. But anything from the new Five Finger Death Punch album just really, to me, does not do a damn thing for me. It really does. Jekyll and Hyde was playing on the radio whenever I was out right before I came here for the stream, and I just shut it the fuck off because why? You know, there really isn't any point. You know, metal is a genre where you're not necessarily measured a lot of times with bad songs. You're measured by just how weak your singles are, like how unconventional that they feel, either that or they just don't have the same tone or timbre to them. The songwriting just doesn't feel as strong. You know, there are some bands where a direct approach doesn't work very well for them. You know, the direct approach makes their material seem very simple and kind of gaudy. You know, there's other bands then where the simple approach is really what's best. And Five Finger Death Punch is a band that does not need to use the simple approach. They shouldn't be using the simple approach because they do have a core that is capable. They have a core that is very, very capable. And I'm going to make a bold guarantee here is that whenever Motograter comes back, because they are releasing a second album, they're in the studio right now writing it. Motograter is where a couple of the members of Five Finger Death Punch are originally from. You're going to see a very big difference between the two. And the Motograter album will probably be, by comparison, the better of the two discs. But it will also be one that barely gets any sort of significant airtime or any sort of talk whatsoever. That's almost a guarantee that I will make. That's a 100% guarantee. You know, you can take that guarantee to the bank and check that or cash that check and fucking make yourself rich as shit. I never need to hear Welcome to the Jungle again. Man, if I didn't hear another Guns N' Roses song for the rest of my life, I wouldn't care. I'm being honest. I would not give a shit if I didn't hear a Guns N' Roses song for the rest of my life. And that even includes Civil War, which is my favorite Guns N' Roses song. Just love what Slash does with this track. I don't need this. Get the hell out of here. And that especially includes November Rain. November Rain's a heartbreaking song. It is a really, really well-designed and well-thought-out track, but I just don't care to hear it again. There was a radio station that was around here that for a long time during the first part of the 2000s, and it seemed like that it happened all the way up until the year that Chinese Democracy dropped, and then all of a sudden shit changed. But they would play at least 1 or 2 songs from Guns N' Roses per hour. And if it was a block party weekend or one of those special things that these bands and shit do, they would play Guns N' Roses block at least once an hour. So you would get 3 songs of Guns N' Roses. Now, granted, it was a station based out of the northern part of West Virginia, and Guns N' Roses is still fairly big in this region. You know, they are still considered to be a wildly important band, and if I said that Guns N' Roses were an overrated bunch of fucks in a local bar, I would probably leave with a lot of blood coming down my face from being hit in the head with a beer bottle, but that's really not the point. After Chinese Democracy came out, that really slowed down. Now it's like you barely hear a Guns N' Roses song on the radio, and I'm okay with that. You know, You Could Be Mine is another song that I feel is kind of acceptable because it shows a lot of angst. It shows a lot of anger. You know, it kind of shows that Axl had the ability to write lyricism that made him sound like a douche, but also justified in being a douche. You know? Like, that's the one thing that I will say is that for all of the douchey things that Axl Rose has said or done throughout the years, in some of his tracks, he has written lyrics. There has been lyricism and there has been songwriting that really supports the idea of taking a stand. And I think that's the reason why Guns N' Roses got so much traction. They were these riff-centered, you know, boys that had a bit of a touch of that old style, you know, 1970s rock approach, you know, from the arena bands that was presented with this heaviness that was very in tune with what was going on at the same time that albums such as Appetite for Destruction were coming out. When it comes to music, I tend to lean toward ballads. I did for a while as well. If you really want to tear up a little bit, on Room V by Shadow Gallery, there's a song on there called Vow. Tell me if that doesn't pull on your emotions a little bit. And Torn is another song off the same disc that really does the same thing. It will definitely pull on the heartstrings a little bit. I was very geared toward some of the more ballady era, you know, the ballady, slower tracks from some metal, and not traditionally your traditional classic rock or all that stuff. Definitely more along the lines of more aggressive metal. There was an Eternal Tears of Sorrow song that was similar for that as well, and I'm trying to recall its title. I know that it had something to do with a river. God damn it. I hate it when that happens. Too much in the brain. Oh, One Summer Dream by Electric Light Orchestra, of course. ELO is a tremendous band that does not get nearly enough credit. People give a lot of credit to Emerson, Lake and Palmer for Brain Salad Surgery, which is a great album, and they are very influential. If you listen to Infestissimum from Ghost, there's a lot of Emerson, Lake and Palmerisms in there within their songwriting, just done in a heavier variety. The Electric Light Orchestra is this band that just really shaped what rock music and what prog music was going to be about for the next couple of decades, and nobody seems to remember that. So, Mark, how about them Cubs? Kevin, guys lost game 1. Big game tonight. You guys better win, or else I think you guys are in trouble. Kevin, I think you need to remember something. Christopher Lloyd has jinxed your team with his bold prediction. He said that he wants to throw out the first pitch at a Chicago Cubs World Series home game. There's the jinx. Might not be as sexy as Steve Bartman or as gross as a billy goat, but there it is. There it is right there. River flows frozen. Thank you, Muhammad. Muhammad, you are my fucking favorite right now. You are the man. I need to find a way to like give stuff to people that help me out whenever I'm having brain farts. Like there needs to be like a little interaction point on here where I can like give people +1s or like mod privileges or some garbage like that, because man, that is a really, really good stuff. That is really good stuff. What is all this garbage? I could add a moderator. What the fuck is this? Okay, that immediately makes things a little better. I thought about doing like Twitch or Hitbox, because I know that they have like a subscribe feature where you can get people some different features and stuff like that, but I don't know. I'm not a gamer per se. Liz, you're right. You guys do have Arrieta tonight. Jake Arrieta is a monster, but aren't they going up against Skarsgård, who's also a monster? Loving A7X is not a bad thing. I was just in a discussion over on Facebook page about Hail to the King. I think that Hail to the King is essentially Avenged Sevenfold's Black Album. I want to know what you guys think about that. King Crimson is awesome. King Crimson's still going, although at this point they're just doing various projects, you know, some collabs and stuff like that. I don't know if you're going to see another King Crimson studio album. I don't know if that's going to happen. And I don't know who Razor Fist Rageaholic is. I don't know who that is. You'll have to remind me. My favorite Oliver record I actually mentioned earlier in the stream was the themes from William Blake's The Marriage Between Heaven and Hell. Although one of somebody on Facebook was getting rid of a couple of albums and actually sent me this, which I thought was really, really cool of them. They also sent me Diadem of the 12 Stars by Wolves in the Throne Room, which I was jamming to about a week ago in the car, and was really, really awesome to revisit that disc. I haven't listened to Diadem of the 12 Stars in probably a couple of years, so that was a really, really cool pair of albums to get for just being me. You know, the guy was just getting rid of stuff, and I even told him that I would toss him a little bit of cash, and he said no. He said no, which was really cool. Someone's asking what kind of cars that I like. I like cars that run. I really am not like a car guy, you know, a car guy. It's really not my thing, 100%. I enjoy looking at them and driving them, but to say that I'm like rooted into needing to have a certain kind of car or something like that is not really my style. It really isn't. My father is quite the opposite. He loves cars, watches the auctions and stuff on television, and used to work on them a good bit because he and my uncle, which is obviously his brother, used to race a funny car back in the 1970s, maybe like the late 60s, early 70s. They went to some courses and tracks around the area and did a little bit of racing, which is pretty awesome. And now my uncle is in Florida working on motorhomes and stuff like that, and actually was the go-to guy. His little company was the go-to guy for NASCAR during the Daytona 500 this past year. So he was down there and was essentially the repairman for anybody who had trouble once they made it into the infield. Razor Fist Rageaholic mentioned you in a video as a Maiden fanboy for liking the new Dark Throne album. Oh. Okay. So I'm a Maiden fanboy because I like the Dark Throne album. That's kind of dumb. Okay. Um, I'll put it to you like this. The new Dark Throne album is amazing. You know, Underground Resistance was a beast of an album. Iron Maiden is amazing. The Book of Souls is a perfect 100 out of 100, and that score, by the way, has not shifted. I liked my old long hair, but I also realized that the reason why the very top of my dome right here is going a little bit bald was because even though I was working at a music store where this shouldn't matter, I had to put my hair up in a pretty decent ponytail, and I was doing that for about 5 years. And ladies or gentlemen, anybody who does this, make sure that your ponytails are kind of loose. I had hair that would just go everywhere whenever I did this. Like, nothing about it felt like it was just staying where it needed to stay. So there was a lot of need to kind of readjust it and stuff like that. And then eventually the ponytails had to get a little bit tighter. And that actually, with the pool on the front, is what's causing a lot of this, as well as some genetics, because even though I am adopted and he is not actually my father he's a gent that has had hair very similar to this throughout the course of his life, where the front has a little bit of a patch right here, and then the sides kind of go back a little bit. And I'm actually graying in the same locations where he started to gray, which is like right around my ears. You cannot see it, and I don't want you to, but I will mention it. So that's just the way that it sort of is. So I guess that you can't escape fate, so to speak. A CKN with dreadlocks would be awful. What do you think of the channels of Anthony Fantano and ARTV reviews? I've watched some ARTV. In fact, I speak with them a little bit on Twitter. Fairly good group of guys. I really do dig what they do. I'm also a pretty big fan of what Andrew Stout has done with the Great American Demise series. And I don't say that just because I was on an episode, but I was on an episode of that. Really liked the idea. And he's just a really stand-up guy. In fact, I missed the opportunity to be a part of a panel last night for the new Earthside release, which is a progressive rock, progressive metal release, which I was thinking about committing to, but I'm glad that I didn't, because obviously I was sick. And JD remembers Son of a Light Bulb, which is a billion years ago. And yeah, I did have wicked long hair. That was 2 haircuts ago, because I had cut my hair before, like right after that happened, to be Dr. House for Halloween one year, like way back in the day, and also to donate it to Locks of Love. And then, of course, grew it back up. But Anthony Fantano and I go actually pretty far back. He was a member of the community whenever it first began, like whenever I first got on board, because I didn't think that anybody else for a while there was doing what I was doing. And obviously, I took a look around, and there were a few other people that were, and we sort of reached out to one another. He reached out to me, I believe. We have been in streams, like one another's streams, ever since 2010 or 2011. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen anymore. We're kind of on 2 different planes or levels of existence. But we want to, well, at least I do. I know that he's extremely busy with doing what he does, and of course, I'm busy on my side. I wouldn't mind doing a collab with Anthony sometime in the future. I think that'd be really cool. CKN versus hipsters. There wouldn't be much to say about that. I don't have much of a negative real got toward hipsters, because the ones that are true hipsters are not really a problem. It's the faux hipsters that really are the issue. The ones that are doing it as a fashion statement. Just like if I wore a fedora, people would immediately think that I was either a hipster or I was a brony, when in reality, I could just really like fedoras. And in fact, I have not gotten a fedora because I want one because of Neil Caffrey from White Collar, but I will not get one until this whole garbage persona jigaboo bullshit dies down. I won't. I've been watching these cringe videos, like these cringe-worthy videos on YouTube whenever I want a quick laugh. And there was one that was dedicated completely to a dude who just got a brand new fedora for, I think, Christmas or something like that. And that right there, I looked at that. I was like, nope, I'm out. Never buying a fedora. I'm going to walk down the street and people are going to be like, hey, look at that. It's the world's oldest hipster, the world's oldest piece of fuck hipster. Stop living in the past, you old fuck. Take that fedora off and step on it. I'm going to piss on your fedora and punch you in your stupid mouth, you My Little Pony loving cretin. So no, I'm not going to do it. Weeaboo, that's it. Weeaboo. I don't know these fucking... Where did these terms come from? Weeaboo? The closest thing that I ever thought about whenever I saw weeboo, I thought somebody was like, I remember whenever I was in the Boy Scouts, I was a weebolo. But now, I can't say that. I'm a weeboo. And I kind of did a little Boogie Francis right there, if you know who Francis is from the Boogie videos. I actually really kind of like that character a lot. Like, I kind of want to meet that guy because he's really knowledgeable. Like, he's a really, really knowledgeable guy in his craft. And the Francis videos always crack me up. What do I think about ISIS? They're horrible. Horrible group. Horrible, horrible group. Oh, you mean the band. The band's great. The band's amazing. The band is absolutely amazing. What do I... Liz, I swear. What is it with you and me? We like have this connection. I was watching Ty Tuesday's 12-hour stream of Super Mario Maker whenever he did it a couple weeks ago, and it was hysterical. I've played demos of the game. I don't have a Wii, but I really kind of dig the idea. I just have a feeling that Christmas time comes, a bunch of kids are going to get it, and they're going to make those like impossible Kaizo levels, and it's going to be stupid as fuck. I hate ICP, Nightwish. You know what? I don't enjoy the music. Like, there's some stuff that they did in the 90s that was okay. Like, The Great Malenko is surprisingly a good album. And I have a couple of friends that are really into them. And that's the thing. Like, for all of the negativity that you hear from the fan base and all the negativity that I've had to bring out about the fan base, it's not universally true whatsoever. Like, one of my best friends that I have never met is somebody from Canada. We've been speaking online for probably about 15 or so years, and she's a huge ICP fan. You know, really, really liked the stuff and liked it ever since she was young. It didn't like the other ones because I see the other side of the coin. I see the people that come in, and if you talk shit about ICP, they look like they're about to pull a hatchet out of their freaking crotch and chop your hand off and offer it to the gods, offer it to Violent J and Shaggy Two Dope, and they'd probably just get this and be like, oh, cool, somebody sent us a prop. All of a sudden, my hand would be in the next episode of Juggalo Championship Wrestling, like Kevin Nash would smack Two-Ton Tony with it or something like that. Yeah, I actually know a couple of the people that were prominent in JCW. That's what happens whenever you're a wrestling fan. I think New Jack was in there for a bit, too. But what's the Angry Ginger Kid's username again? What the hell? They were Trilbies? What is Trilby? What the hell is going on? Neobliscaris is an amazing band. I agree completely. Favorite jazz record? That's a really good question. That's a really, really good question. Oh, man. Because I listen to some of the Paul Butterfield stuff. That's really good. Like, a lot of the stuff that I listen to leans really more toward the blues department. I really like Gary Clark. You know, Joe Bonamassa is kind of more bluesy. Oh, man. It's a really good question. It's a really, really good question. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. That was rough. Epica is a pretty strong band. I feel like they kind of get lost within the shuffle of groups that are like them. Like, whenever you talk about bands like Camelot, Epica kind of gets faded into the background a little bit. And then, of course, with the rise of Within Temptation, the same way. How do magnets work? You see, one day, some dude decided he was going to deceive the world into believing that that things had polarity, that things are drawn to one another. See, what happened was that this guy was really, really into this girl, and he was kind of a dork. And so, in order to display his affection to this girl that wanted nothing to do with him, he invented polarity and invented this whole entire idea that two people can be drawn together to one another using the North and South Pole. Two people that seem like they have no reason being in a relationship together, being in love, having 5 deliciously beautiful children. If you're, the Witch and Hansel and Gretel, of course. And he called it magnetism, and he called it polarity, and he made this device to show it. And he was so excited. He figured she would be so impressed. He showed it to her, and she was just like, I fucked your brother. Kind of like him more. Bigger dick. Someone mentioned the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame being renamed the Music Hall of Fame. I'm actually kind of behind that, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it should just be renamed the like the Pop Rock Hall of Fame, or if you keep it like this, you're going to have to do a little something with the way things are displayed. If you want rock and roll to really classify everything, like all of music, which in a way it sort of does. We're starting to get to that level. I think that NWA would be like the second rap group to be a part of it, because I believe that Run DMC is in there. But the way in which that whole entire place would have to be set up would be based around the history of different genres. That would have to become the focus. That would have to become the focus of everything. And weirdly enough, whenever I visited the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a couple of years ago, there was a display that was dedicated to grunge that made mention to my favorite grunge album of all time, and one of my favorite albums of all time, which is Apple by Mother Love Bone, which is really, really cool. Mark, play Melee again. Want to see how much better that you've gotten. I've gotten worse. Although I will say that playing the new Smash Brothers as Little Mac, fuck your couch, I am amazing, because Little Mac is the shit. But like I said, I don't have a Wii. I would have to accost my friend's Wii and take over my camera. Do it with that shitty freaking style of recording I did before. I'm shocked, actually, that my buddy does not stream, because I know why he doesn't. I knew why he doesn't, but I'm shocked that he does not, rig up some device in his mad scientist bat cave where he can. He's a buddy that last night we were talking about how some people don't have fast internet because of decisions made by the providers, where they don't put lines out where they need to. He falls in that boat. He falls into that boat. But the funny thing is that if he had a capture card, he could easily, and I mean easily, he could have gameplay footage that he shoots, and then he could just drive into town and pass it off to me, and I could practically run a YouTube channel for him. Because he's a very good player, for one. He plays some pretty interesting stuff. He was really big in the Kerbal Space Station and World of Tanks and stuff like that. I'm really surprised that he and I didn't work out something like that. But he is right now, I think, more focused on getting married and starting a life and being a geologist and being a general badass. I don't play Forza. No, I really don't do any sort of car games, with the exception of Mario Kart. I played Cruisin' USA too. I really like that game on 64. Played that game a lot. Clever Talk. I think we did a review of one of their last albums. Pretty good band. Very, very different. Very unique. Very, very unique product. Favorite Pearl Jam album? Yield. Love that disc. Consequently, one of the first that I ever got. Just really thought that was underappreciated. It was a really underappreciated album. 10 is an amazing disc. Don't get me wrong. Like 10 is the one that started it all, and blah blah blah. But Yield to me just holds a lot of great sentiment. What is the greatest Nintendo game of all time? End the debate. Super Mario Bros. 3 or Ocarina of Time? Neither. It is A Link to the Past. It is Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I don't play any instruments. I used to play guitar a number of years ago. I was terrible at it. And I used to sing, but I probably can't sing worth shit right now. CKN, how much would I need to give you for a capture card? Or a Wii at least? Wii's, I think, are $200. I have not priced a Wii for a long time. As far as capture cards are concerned, I haven't looked into this technology because I know that I probably wouldn't have a lot of time to do it. What I would like to, I have tried to do some basic streaming through this, and it doesn't work very well. I tried to stream Link to the Past, in fact, and it didn't work very well. So I think it just needs to be reserved that I probably won't be doing gameplay. I wanted to for Binding of Isaac Rebirth whenever that came out last year. Never could get a setup that I liked. And it was something where it was failing with the original Binding of Isaac, which was done in fucking Flash. So yeah. Every time I look behind me where this blue push pin is, where I hung the glasses during the last stream, I keep thinking it's a stink bug. And that is really starting to get to me a little bit. Wii U is $299. Oh my god. CKN trading cards. Brian, I will sign off on this if you make a Cover Killer Nation customizable card game. I will totally sign off on that, and you can keep basically like 95% of the proceeds. My favorite post-2000s Megadeth album, man. United Abominations was a surprisingly good release. It was one I was very harsh on originally, but I really kind of grew to love. Saint Anger or Super Collider? Super Collider. I'm drinking Monster. I'm going to go with Super Collider on that one. But I also will say that Saint Anger is, upon revisitation, and this is true of whenever we revisited it 2 years ago, and as well as today, it is a flawed album. It is a deeply flawed album. But it really, I think the reason why it gets a lot of the bane that it gets is because of who it is, because of Metallica, because it's Metallica. If some other bands released that album, I think that it would be treated a lot less harshly, is what I'm saying. In spite of all of its flaws. Like, I don't think, like, it gets what I would consider to be a Lud Divinium Insanus hate, if not more than that. I feel almost like a partial reason why that's true, which, oops. But I don't think that it gets that level of hate if it's released by a different band. Like, if it was released by, I don't know, like if it was a Soilwork album, which Figure Number 5 was one that was kind of so there's a good similarity there. Like if Soilwork releases Saint Anger or Soil Anger, whatever they would call it, I don't think it gets the same universal bane. I really don't. If In Flames releases it, I don't think that you get the same bane, considering In Flames has released 2 pretty universally hated albums by a large portion of their fan base. And yet this is still a band that has kind of survived through all of that. You know what I mean? Like, this is a band that still has kept on trucking in spite of all of that. I think Attitude also has a bit of a play in that. I think that some kind of monster DVD and like the overall way that documentary appeared to make things seem, even if it was true, I just don't think it was a very strong idea or a very good idea to do something of that variety right after releasing an album that was not very well received. Like, this was an album, and really to a point, the Saint Anger single by itself, it was released before the album was scheduled to drop, and by the time the album was released, like less than 2 to 3 weeks afterward, the radio stations around this area just ceased playing that song. Like, they didn't want anything to do with it. I have a feeling that there were people that were probably calling in saying, please don't play that song again. Favorite Machine Head album? Man, that's rough, but Burn My Eyes is so fucking good. So fucking good. What two In Flames albums are the universally hated albums? Their most recent one? Oh, shit. And I think A Sense of Purpose are the two that I'm thinking about. Uno Momento, S'il vous plaît. Again, Brain Farts. I hate Brain Farts because I know there's two of them we caught. Yeah, it was A Sense of Purpose and Siren Charms are the two that are pretty universally despised by many, many people. Now, some people also feel that way about Sounds of a Playground Fading. I hate the album title of that album so much. Really, really bad title for an album, but the album itself is just kind of you know. I watched a couple of the first episodes of The Flash whenever it came out because it was on right around the same time as Supernatural, and we all here in this house we love Supernatural, so Flash seems like it's pretty good. Arrow seems like it's really, really badass. And the Macho Man Randy Savage album, absolutely, I have heard some stuff from that, and it is pretty hysterically awful. But you know what? It's also a lot of fun. Like, I just laugh my ass off whenever I listen to stuff like that. Some of that stuff just needs to be a really, really good. It has to be a really good time. You have to enjoy yourself a little bit whenever you listen to things, and you have to also take into account that, Randy Savage doing this was not so much a, hey, remember me thing. Somebody, they believe this was a good idea. And, yeah. In some ways it might have been. It may have been. Am I looking forward to Metallica's new album? A little bit. They don't really need to do this, though. Like, they could end with Death Magnetic and Lulu and be fine, Because I think as time has passed, Lulu has become exactly what it is, which is more of a collaborative album where both people are to blame, which is kind of stupid. But, I don't know. I'm kind of excited for it because I want to know what we should expect from these guys from here on out. If this is their last album, then I'd be okay with that. Because Metallica really doesn't need to do anything else. They really don't need to do anything more. Death Angel's a good band. They've had a couple of good releases that have come out within the past couple years. They're a group that I think got a little sidetracked during the early part of the 90s. Like, they sort of got left in the dust a little bit, but they made their way through. Favorite Agalloch song will probably always and forever be In the Shadow of Our Pale Companion. It is just a phenomenal, phenomenal song. So rich and full of emotion. Filthy Frank. Who is Filthy Frank? Refresh my memory. Do I like anime and manga? I do watch some anime. I don't really have much in the way of manga. I have some old Triguns from a while back that I was given. And I purchased a Cowboy Bebop many years ago that I may look to sell at some point in time. Pre or post Blood, Fire, Death, Bathory? I like both of them. I like both eras. Filthy Frank is friends with Anthony Fantano. Okay. That's cool. I really don't know who that is. I really don't know who he is. I don't know very much about him, so there you go. I'll have to do a little bit of research about that. Like, I'll have to do a little bit of research about that, is all I can really say. I'm excited for a new Tool album. I have been for like 6 years, 7 years, 10 years. Have I seen Bat Metal? Yes, I have. Bat Metal is pretty hysterical. The last one that they did for Mermaider was especially classic. Like, I still like to go back to that every so often. The Devil You Know album is going to be interesting, but I want a new Killer Be Killed disc. That's what I would really, really like to see. I would really like to see a new Killer Be Killed disc. I really dug that that collaboration. That collaborative effort was phenomenal. He has a video called "I Was Born in the Wrong Generation." Well, let me tell you, I probably would enjoy that, because at times I can feel that same way, but I would not want to be born at any other period of time, really. Because and the reason for that is because growing up in the 90s was a great experience, but it's also a saddening experience, because every generation, and now I'm going a little philosophical, I think every generation, whenever they get older, starts to realize that things in the world and things that kids enjoy, like the generations beneath them enjoy, are going to always differ. But I don't think ever before, and this is why I think this nostalgia thing idea is really a big thing, why nostalgia is this huge fucking deal right now, is that kids of my generation that grew up in the 1990s in the pre-internet age, like right as the internet was about to take off. The first time I ever surfed the internet, I believe I was 13 years old, maybe even 14. So right on the cusp of high school was whenever the internet came into CKN's home. It's something where nowadays you see fewer kids outside and playing. People are very technologically addicted and very reliant on it. And it becomes a bit of a difficult thing to accept, because you saw and remember how much fun that you had doing some of the things that you did whenever you were a kid. Think about your own childhood. Think about the different things that really populated your time and really brought you a lot of joy. For some of you, it was probably playing a couple of games on, an N64, or maybe even an older system, depending on your age. You go outside, maybe you went on hikes, maybe you went to parties and stuff like that. It seems like nowadays, whenever you look online, you're seeing these, videos of 7 and 8 year olds playing Call of Duty, getting pissed off, chugging Mountain Dew, talking about how it's the shiznazzle and this and that. And, you're wondering whenever some fucking nincompoop is going to actually go into a coma and die because they drank too much Baja Blast and had a heart attack while freaking out about getting spawn killed in fucking Call of Duty Modern Warfare 75. I don't really listen to much dark ambient. The closest thing, and really no, that's not even true. I did have a MySpace account. I know that somebody was trying to get back to jazz, but it is still one of the things that, off the top of my skull, I can't really think. Most of the stuff that I love really is pinpointed more toward the blues. That's the reason why. Whenever you talk about the B.B. Kings of the world, you do have some jazz elements, you have some blues elements. It's a part of the movement. B.B. King is certainly one of the largest influences for that in regard to many things. And whenever you consider Miles Davis, whenever you consider albums such as Kind of Blue, you just have a wide variety of classic works that are really hard to touch because of the love of freeform experimentation and the love of spontaneity that was really embraced within those recordings that makes them very unique to the times. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where you get into some of that more expansive material. Whenever you get into some of that expansive work, we talked about an individual during a 10 Songs You May Not Know episode that really fell within this category. And it's something that I don't think that many people take into account with people such as Herbie Hancock, where jazz fusion really became a big thing in the late 60s, and definitely was a big thing in the 1970s. We mentioned the song Chameleon on episode 8 of 10 Awesome Songs That You May Not Know, and that is certainly one that fits the profile. You know, people gave me a lot of grief because Herbie Hancock is a name that is pretty universally known, apparently. I didn't think that was true. You know, I was actually expecting more people to recognize the name Crystal Method from that episode than anything else. But apparently Herbie Hancock was not, you know, you may not know enough or whatever. But whenever you get into the jazz fusion and stuff like that, that's where you really, really get into some interesting work that has a lot of different undulations to it. And you see a lot more of that free-form expressionism that you got from the earliest forms of jazz, only it's gone even deeper. You know, you get a little bit more of that key idea. You have a little bit of a space idea with some of the Herbie Hancock stuff from the 1970s. You know, space was something that was still very much on the minds of a lot of individuals. But Violator by Depeche Mode is it's a monumental release. It's a lot like Songs from the Big Chair by Tears for Fears. It's one of those. It is what it is for a reason. You know, it's considered one of the greatest albums of all time for a reason. It's an album of dark melancholy that just cannot be really. You can't place what it really does to you emotionally in words, which is really cool about that. You know, it's really interesting. You know, you take that and then you look at an album of theirs such as Playing the Angel and you see a huge difference. You see a huge, huge difference right there. 10-second songs is awesome. I've been watching the 10-second song stuff for about a year, and I really, really like that. The Passing Void. Why did people write OV instead of O? Passing Void, you and I, we're having a sit down right now. Not because you're in trouble, because you're not. It's because of something completely different. So, 2 years ago, right around this time of year, actually maybe a little bit later, right around the same time that I made the 10 most annoying fan bases types of people video. So maybe it was even like January or February. There was an individual who was on my friends list that was doing that. They would do OV instead of, you know. This is something that's, I guess, linked to, isn't that Latin? I believe that it is. It's Latin, and it's something that was being done because of bands like Behemoth and other groups of the variety. Like him, I think, might have done it. I don't know. It was some like gothic thing. I really don't understand the reasoning behind it. And I remember one evening I was attempting to type this way. Like I was trying to do the OV instead of OF, and it's only one key off. You know, if you do standard typing position, if you know what that is, you have your pointer fingers on the F and the J. So to move the F to the V is not that far. It's not that difficult. If you are a good typer, your brain is actually well-versed as to how to do that. Like, it will recognize where the V is, and you can do it. But, you know, trying to do this in sentences and being a writer, you know, being somebody who has written articles, that has written some, you know, has tried to write novels and has failed miserably because of my own lack of interest in my own shit, because I think all the stuff I do is crap. Hardest freaking person to really appease and whatever is myself. That's just something that really bothered me, and like my brain would not be trained to do that. So I tried to write like a paragraph this way, and it was inconsistent. There were some that were OF, there were some that were OV. The ones that were OV looked really, really dumb and whatever. So one of the people I was living with at that time goes the fuck off about this. And it's ironic because I liked the post, and then the person that was on Facebook that was doing that magically deleted me, as though she knew I was speaking about her, which I was, and so was my friend that was staying with me. But I was more so speaking about her during the 10 annoying fan bases types of people thing, whenever it was the faux depression thing, the faux depression number, which I think was like number 5 or something like that, because like individuals that seem like they're I'm going to turn it all around, and then like the next hour they're like depressed again or this or that. Like they need to have things go a certain way in order for their lives to seem like it's all hunky and dory, you know. Like you can't have like if you're happy as can be because you got pizza and then you stub your toe, all of a sudden now you're in a depressive funk. I mean, it's kind of an insult to people that actually go through depression legitimately, or go through bipolar disorder legitimately, and have these types of things happen. You know, it's almost like a cloud, and it's not one that's very positive. You know, we did a video within the Thought Buffet whenever that series was still going on about self-harm. And it's something that was also a part of this. And it's another reason why people who do self-harm or who talk about self-harm are kind of given a bit of a bad rap, because there really has been an entire generation now. Like it was for a while there, it seemed like it was vogue to be depressed. It was vogue to be a depressed emo kid. You know, and I'm not saying that to be stereotypical. That literally was it. It seemed like everybody in a certain element about 10 years ago or so, that was the cool thing to do, was getting into the emo, the gothic, and the scene substructure of clothing and material and mindset and things like that. Nobody understands me. I'm truly unique, but yet I'm a part of this whole big scene fad that is not unique at all, because there's a bunch of people that are just like me. There's nothing that's unique about any of us. Let's face it. There's somebody out there that's just like me. Okay. Scares the shit out of me, but it's true. I know that is. I can go and say that I'm the most unique person you'll ever meet, and that probably is true. It's probably true, but there are going to be people that are just like me. But that just doesn't mean that the other fuckers, they're the fuckers that are meeting me, are going to meet the other fuckers, you know? So maybe to them, I am going to fulfill that expectation. But maybe that won't be the case. Maybe they will meet me, hop on a plane, and go to Boise the fuck, Idaho. And somebody there will wear sunglasses like this, have hair that's very similar. And they will go on rants, but they won't go on rants about music or pop culture or something like that. Maybe they are pissed the fuck off because of the way in which corn is being harvested. Or they're pissed the fuck off because the coats that they try to purchase never seem to fit them. Or they don't understand why we have domesticated animals. Like why do we keep cats as pets? They're feral cats. They should be out there among the wild, populating and making this a race of individuals that now has to fear the feral cat, because the cats have risen and are going to destroy us all. When all they really want is a little bit of affection, a little bit of love, and a little bit of food. You know what I mean? But maybe that's it. You know, you're not unique if you're a part of a fashion where it is a dominant force within the high school and college culture, which that was the case. Like, it's to the point now where people have told me that there is like a whole subsection of adult entertainment that is based around the emo subculture, the scene subculture. Like, that whole look is now something where the adult entertainment industry is starting to catch up to this, and probably had to wait for those fucking idiots to become legal, but you get my point. You know, the term scene queen is one that really annoyed the piss out of me. It really was. But it was one that also had relevance, you know what I mean? Like, it's one that made some sense. Some people were able to use that, latch some people on. We're in the internet age. Everything's a fucking gimmick. So there's someone out there that's just like me. Maybe instead of drinking Monster, they drink Rockstar. You never know. I've had people on my friends list on Facebook, like really close friends of mine, people I haven't seen in a couple of years, that have moved on to different locations and have sworn up and down that they thought they've seen me somewhere. Like one of them, I think, was either in like upstate New York or was in Oklahoma, something like that. Like I magically just appeared there. Another person thought that they had seen me in Seattle. which was really, really fucking obnoxious. Yet the place that I would probably want to be right now is probably, well, maybe here, maybe not. You know, sugar, we're going down swinging. I remember there used to be a bunch of videos that circulated on like MySpace and the early YouTube that were all about taking the lyrics from those songs that were like sort of garbled together into a mess and write amusing lyrics to that. You know, I think that was pretty cool. I've listened to a little bit of Crown the Empire, Seamus. In fact, I think I did albums I missed on maybe a song of theirs or an album of theirs last August. They're just there's nothing really all of that. I'm not very keen on them, but they're not terrible. You know what I mean? See, Shadow Wolf is you're right, and JD, you're right as well. Whenever I was in high school, which was quite some time ago, to give you a little indication, I went to high school in the late 90s to early 2000s. For a long time, like my very first 3 years in high school, I was one of, I think, 2 metal fans. And the other one was a girl that was a year beneath me. So whenever I was a sophomore, she was a freshman, and like her metal tendencies were not very widely known. Whenever I became a senior, though, there were some freshmen that came up that were becoming fans of the melodeath scene, which is starting to come back or become, you know, part of prominence in metalcore. So we're talking about guys that were really, really hoping to go see Iced Earth, In Flames, and Jag Panzer, which I would have loved to have seen that show, but I didn't drive at that time, which really sucked. Because I've talked with Mark Brody from Jag Panzer on numerous occasions back in the day. We were both on the Iron Maiden band board and would used to be in some communication. So that would have been a great opportunity to sort of hang out. But, you know, what can you do? What can you do? It seems like there has been some locations that have a larger quantity of heavy metal fans in the like in the school system, like the high school system right now, because it seems like that with some of the friends that I have that are fans on Facebook and the people that I may know pop up, and it's all like in California, or it seems like the West Coast still has a fairly good heavy metal representation. Whether that's true or not, someone will have to confirm or deny that. But it seems as though there's a pretty good combine over there. There are actually a good bit of fans over on this corner of the globe, but most of them are very much geared toward whatever's big. So a couple years ago, a lot of folks were listening to some Born of Osiris because of the Discovery and wanting to incorporate that progressive metalcore style into their music. And now that deathcore has become a little bit more large and whatever, that's what wants to be put in. So I wouldn't be surprised if they start trying to infuse some gent. You know, there have been some folks around here that have been in bands literally since I was like 1 year removed from college, and I've been out of school now for about 10 years, like a little less than 10 years. And they were in bands then that are vastly different than they are now. And, you know, of course, all they want is to get their big break and all of this stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, man, you know, you jump bands every 5 seconds. It's almost like hitting a reset button. That's one of the main reasons behind the inspiration for the video why I think that local bands fail, because I was looking at a group of individuals that were literally writing the book on how to fail in that regard. Like literally trying to chase the hot button idea over and over and over again. And it just seemed like it was just resetting itself. Pittsburgh, yeah. See, Pittsburgh has a decent community, but whenever I saw Carcass, I was really disappointed in Pittsburgh. I was really, really disappointed in that crowd a shit ton, man. Because there was just no excitement. You know, more people were focused on being on their phones and stuff. maybe that's a byproduct of this generation, but it just really disappointed me. I was at that show. It was last year, I think. And granted, I no longer have the ability physically to really be the raucous, ridiculous asshole that I once was in my youth. But this was something that was very disappointing in the fact that it just seemed like nobody was willing to give these groups cred. You know, that's the reason why, like, people wonder why a lot of big bands don't come to Pittsburgh, and they always cite the fact that the venues charge way too much, and that's probably a true statement. But also, the fan base really needs to showcase a little more excitement, and I'll give you an example of that. Like I said, I went to that Carcass show last year. This year, I went to see Breaking Benjamin because my girlfriend really likes Breaking Benjamin. So, you know, we went to see Breaking Benjamin. That crowd was superlatively better. You know, extremely loud, very, very passionate. They loved the piss out of that show. You know what I mean? That was a very, very loud environment. And that's what you would kind of expect from heavy metal fans. You would expect there to be a lot of chaos. But that's not the case. That wasn't the case. JD, I had a buddy that just went to see Cannibal Corpse last night. And she was talking about how whenever her and her sister left the show, that they were like a big sweaty mess. And I said, man, that's a sexy thing right there. And she's like, probably not. I was like, considering all the people that just go into shows with their phones and just record the music, that way they can revisit their shitty recording later that's going to have terrible sound and even, you know, probably even worse video, all depending on what it's shot on. Yeah, I will sooner, like, if I'm looking for somebody outside of a show, if I'm a single low-life dickhole, I am going to find more of a potential turn-on for an erotic encounter from somebody who's come out the show and they are sweaty and they just had a really, really good time. You know, it seems like they just were in a pit for, you know, an hour and a half, and, you know, they just want to, you know, maybe sit down and, you know, headbang a little bit more, or, you know, go to a fucking Steak and Shake and have a milkshake while sweating all over the seats or something like that. I'm going to dig that more than the person that walks out of the show that looks in better tact than they did whenever they went in. Like, somehow they went into the bathroom during set changes and did their hair and something or other. You know, they might look a little bit better, they might look a little more made up, but I can guarantee you that those were the folks that went in there and just were stationary and probably offered a smattering of applause, a little golf clap of applause, maybe a yell here and there just to, you know, indicate that they're alive. They really didn't expel or expunge all of that much energy into it. And that in many ways may be a metaphor for other things as well. Don't really care if that's a generalization, and that's not one that is linked toward just one gender, by the way. So don't take that the wrong way. Don't take that the wrong way. Someone was asking about the best live experience that I've ever had. There is a couple of them that I could mention. I am not an Attila fan, Ryan, just to throw that out there very, very quickly. But it seems like with every Attila album, I find new ways to talk about them. Attila better than what? No. 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 You truly are a troll of metal. But at any rate, on a non-metal front, I have seen the Red Hot Chili Peppers live, and that was probably one of the best shows that I've ever seen. Probably one of the best shows that I've ever seen. Absolutely phenomenal show. Seen Opeth a couple of times. Seen Porcupine Tree, which is also a treat. Immortal and Absu a couple of years ago. Immortal with Absu as the secondary band came to Pittsburgh, and that night happened. That concert happened on a night where it was forecast to have like 8 to 12 inches of snow. Still went down. The band still played, They played at Mr. Small's, which a couple of you are going to know what that means, which is a venue here that is made out of an old church. So, of course, they had to make reference to that. Immortal played Tyrants. They extended Tyrants. They had fun with Tyrants. The crowd loved it. I loved it. Whenever I got out of that show, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it the fuck home. In fact, whenever I got down onto Route 51, which again, some of you will know and others won't, and I got about halfway to my destination, to home, the southbound lane was still open, but the northbound lane was not. Traffic was at a standstill because of how bad the weather was. So I lucked out. I lucked out for a big time on that one. But those were great shows. Both of the Gigantors I've been to have been really, really solid shows. Those have both been really solid shows. And I think the principal reason for that was especially cemented in the second edition of the tour, which was I saw it in Columbus, Ohio with a couple buddies. And one of the bands, I think, either had to drop off of the tour or they didn't show up for that date. So Overkill just got to play a longer set. Like, they got to play for close to an hour, and it was amazing. Like, I kept looking at my watch thinking, man, for having, I think, 30 to 45 minutes, this seems like it's been a lot longer than that. Either that or whenever Overkill plays, time really does stand still, which, I mean, take a look at this band. They're just wrecking everything in sight despite their age. So it's possible. But in reality, it was just the case that they were warranted this time. And it was a very cool experience. Seen Opeth 3 times. I mean, favorite band, got to see them. Still haven't seen Alice in Chains. Really need to see that. Iron Maiden, Ronnie James Dio, and Motorhead was the first major concert that I ever was at. Because before then, I had gone to a local show. And whenever I was a lot younger, I went to see the Shirelles at like the State Theater, which the Shirelles are an old girl group from the 60s, I believe. Oh, man. Whew. I haven't seen the Bouncing Souls. I think my girlfriend has. I think they opened for Tom Petty. We've seen the Psychedelic Furs, though. That was a good show. Seen the Misfits a handful of times. We've seen the Damned. We've seen the Gin Blossoms. I've seen Overkill twice. Nevermore was a great show. I've seen Warbringer. That was with Overkill. Triptychon was a phenomenal show as well. Saw them with 1349 and a couple of other groups. That was a great show. That was a terrific, terrific experience. I haven't seen a lot of shows lately. Lately has been kind of a show-free zone, though I did see Brandon Flowers of the Killers over the summer, which is pretty cool. Because I like just a little bit of everything, you know. I like a little bit of everything. Oh boy. I think that I'm going to have to head out for a bit. I think I'm going to do another one of these streams probably down the line. And now everyone wants to know favorite porn star. Oh my gosh. Have we really made it to this level? Have we really made it to this level? Have we really made it to this level? Miko Lee. Have we really made it to this level? Asa Akira. Have we really made it to this level? Alexis Texas. Cagney Lynn Carter. Have we really made it to this level? Lisa Ann. Have we? Have we made it to this level? Follow Miko Lee on Twitter. Anyway. Cat's out of the bag now. Cat's out of the bag now, Brandy Aniston. Oh no. Yeah, I'm gonna head out for a bit. By a bit, I mean probably a couple days or so. This is And Brie Olson. Oh shit, forgot all about that. God damn it. Now there are some that I can't think of that are also very delicious, but I'll know when the time is right who they are. But yeah, I'm gonna roll, ladies and gents. If I can stop laughing, because that was hysterical. That is hysterical. I'll probably do another one of these sometime later this week. And I'm waiting on CKN versus the world currently because I have a couple individuals that I'm awaiting emails from with regard to a couple of different things, including some things that you're going to see within the videos, but also mainly some behind the scenes stuff. I want to make sure that everything's linked up and ready to go. So I'm going to talk to you guys later. I'm going to hopefully try to get a CKN versus the world disc video maybe recorded at least sometime this week. And of course, here on the CKN channel, we're still in hiatus mode, but I'm going to actually break my own hiatus for a second and edit these two sections of the stream into two different videos. Hopefully that way those that want to talk or want to hear me talk about some of those new releases can see that, and the others that want to see this clusterfuck that has happened here are more than happy to do so. But anyways, I'm out of here. Nickelback is a terrible porn star because she just does the same thing over and over again, which most porn stars do, but they do it very boringly with, the same three chords. If Fred Durst was a porn star, his name would be Soft Nookie, and the only person that would want to bang him is Snooki. I am out of here. I'm Cover Killer Nation. You're not. That's probably a good thing for you, not for me. Shame on me. Later.